All right, welcome back to episode 2 of the newly refurbished Awkward MMA. We got someone from our actual original season when I was in the background, Aiden Ingram, aka the Future. How is it going?
Good, man. Trying to stay active in these kind of weird and awkward times, man. But
how you doing that?
Right now, it's just trying to stay active, right? And so when everything went down and the gym closed down, I stripped out my garage. I had mats. I had puzzle mats. And my roommate is actually my old strength conditioning coach. So we had a rack and weights, Olympic bar and everything. So it was just putting everything together, getting the garage stripped out and then putting everything together. So I did that the week that Fight Ready closed down.
Oh, yeah. So you were like,
so I kind of
really
knew.
Prepared.
Yeah, I kind of knew. I was like, man, things are kind of shifty. States are closing down. And then as soon as it closed, we were ready to roll, man. I was doing the same thing. Two days, killing it, man. So.
Oh yeah, it's like, what's your like normal routine like just with that garage?
Right now I have a couple people from Fight Ready on the amateur team. A couple pros come through sometimes. I hold 2 practices, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. 10 a.m. I usually just roll for an hour, and then Rose and I hit our strength conditioning. We lift right after. Take a break, eat, and then 6 p.m. we're doing the same thing. I'm running a practice with 3 or 4 guys that come through. So it's been consistent, honestly. It's been I kind of let myself go a little bit on the diet. I went up like 4, 5, 6 pounds.
A little bit of comfort food, I'm guessing.
Food, and then I was still lifting. I was like, man, like I'm not losing any weight. So I cleaned up the diet. So like I've been down like 5 pounds the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So. It's just treating it like I'm in camp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's like the thing, because I've been like, it's been like strictly weights for me, and then I have like a bag in the back of my parents' place. So like I'll come over and say, hey, could I use your garage with like all the weights and stuff like that? And then I have I actually bought a grappling dummy.
Oh, nice.
Off of Amazon. Like a lot of people say it's a waste of time, but I actually think it's like pretty good because it's someone who stays still and like has more patience than your typical training partner. So if I'm not getting it, you can like lock everything in. Then it's pretty cool to like innovate and try and find different positions and stuff.
You move around it, and then it's fun to punch too, right? Like you get to try your ground and pound out or elbows and stuff too. So
yeah, how are you missing the UFC though? Just every week on ESPN.
Oh man, dude, I watch. I mean, thankfully Fight Pass has been keeping me busy. I look up old fights, Pride fights, old WEC fights, so I stay on Fight Pass. But man, I'm ready for May, man. I'm ready for
next weekend.
3 events in a week.
Dude, the prelims are gonna be so tight.
Yeah, they put Cowboy on the prelims too, man. So it's a stacked.
But that's
card.
like a main event on the prelims. Cowboy versus Pettis too.
Oh yeah, yep.
I honestly just have this gut feeling that like every one of Cowboy's fights is just I'm counting for him to just put those gloves down in the octagon, just because like I see on Instagram like how he's got the kid and everything like that, and he's got all those other business ventures. So it's just like, dude, you've been getting KO'd as many times. It's like, I'm not saying it to be a disloyal fan, but it's just like
you're saying it as a caring fan.
Yeah.
That's how I think Cowboy will kill it, man. Honestly, like, cause he's the type of guy that will, when the pressure's on, he folds, right? Like even said in the Brett Okamoto interview, he's like, when I showed up 2 days before, I knew I didn't want to be there. The pressure's getting to me, and when he just fights just to fight, like that's when he's like a world beater, man. So, I think he's gonna put it on Pettis.
You think so?
Because there's not a lot of look. You got Justin Gaethje and Tony, and you got Henry fighting, and he's kind of overshadowed by all these big names. So I think he likes that. Like he's flown under the radar, and
I kind of disagree. I don't think it's possible to overshadow Cowboy. He's been such just a name in like not just the UFC but Strikeforce, like way back in the day. Yeah. It's so hard to like see his name even if it was like an early prelim, you'd be tuning in at 10 a.m. just to see that fight. I mean, I know I would. I remember when Henry fought TJ, I went to go to a bar to go see the prelims. Just to see
Alexander
that fight.
Hernandez. Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you see like a young up and comer like that go up against like just an older like opponent. Yeah. And then you see like the old dog still got some tricks up his sleeve and
especially when he's running his mouth, when Alexander Hernandez was trying to
psych him out,
trying to pull some stuff.
Only Conor McGregor could really do that.
Man.
Right?
You could tell it was scripted, and then you just see Cowboy like, man, sit down. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool it was cool and Alexander Hernandez brought it to him for like the first round, and then Cowboy threw those knees up and head kicks. So it was just yeah, it was a cool moment for him, man.
Oh yeah. Plus with Henry fighting as a co-main event, that's going to be dope, and against Dominic Cruz too.
It's been crazy, man. I've actually, so when you asked about my schedule, the past couple weeks, like 2-3 weeks, our coach Eddie Chai actually asked me to come in and be Henry's punching bag for Dominic Cruz the last couple weeks. So that was my schedule. So every morning it was 11 to around like 12:30 or 1 where
is it a breach of confidentiality to like ask how you guys have been preparing for that? Because you're getting like a front row seat.
It's just it's there's no secret in how to beat Dom, right? Like he's weak, he's got a brittle body, he's got weak legs, he's got his plantar fasciitis or whatever you call it. Like it's not a secret how to beat Dom. It's just being patient. It really is a game of patience. That's what he wants. He gets in your face. He taunts you. If you get mad, he's going to run circles around you. But you see in the fights that he has less success with Cody, right?
Yeah, everyone had a serious anger problem.
Everyone thought Cody was just going to run at him, and it was just going to be another Team Alpha Male versus Dominic fight. It wasn't. He pulled Dom in, and then he exploded out. And then the last 2 rounds with TJ. I mean, TJ got so frustrated throwing head kicks and body kicks, he couldn't hit him. And then the last 2 rounds, he's like, wait a minute, his leg's right there. You know what I'm saying? So the last 2 rounds, TJ was chopping down those legs, and then all of a sudden, within 4 or 5 minutes, Dom's already limping and
I'm predicting like a first or second round finish. Now that you're telling me this,
I say if Henry is as patient as he's been in camp, I say a 3rd round finish. I put money on that, man. But it's all about patience. It's not even about physicality, right? Like they're both world class athletes, but who's going to be more patient? That's the worst thing about Dom. Like you can be the most conditioned athlete in the world, but it doesn't matter if you can't outthink, Dom. So it's going to be good, man. I can't wait.
What do you think about Ferguson versus Gaethje? Because like just as a hardcore Tony Ferguson fan, like I love that guy to death. I think his act is probably the most real and kind of just, I mean, I know he's like seriously out there, like in a good way. And just from like what I've heard from Juice when he talked to him and everything, and what you even trained with the guy, right?
No, I met him out in Anaheim.
Oh yeah. So
he actually posted a picture of me on his Instagram with all his fans and stuff. So I was like, whoa, dude, it's kind of crazy.
So you like, no, that's not an act. He's really.
No, he's pretty goofy. You know what I'm saying? Like I had a couple minutes with him, and he's actually really goofy, just really down to earth. But
and he thinks outside the box that way too. Like people with that kind of like mindset, like that.
His coach is Eddie Bravo, right? So it's like they kind of go hand in hand. They're
do you think he's got a chance against Gaethje, or do you think it's gonna?
I think either way, it's fight of the year, man.
Oh
I think I love Gaethje. I've seen him fight live twice, against Dustin Poirier and then against Michael Johnson.
I think Gaethje's a character in himself, though.
Oh yeah,
like
he's like Cowboy almost, right? Like because they're friends and stuff. He's got that Cowboy mentality. He's like, I'm gonna fight anybody.
You're gonna fight anybody. It's not really like a cliff jumping, cow wrangling in my free time.
He is a nut though.
Oh yeah.
You see that ESPN thing where like it was like 2 weeks before his fight with Cowboy, and he's like, all right, I'll give $500 anybody drops me with a body shot today. I'm like, geez, man, dude, he's one of those guys. Right?
He knows, like
he likes to fight. But I'd say because Tony gets dropped in every fight, man. And it's the ability to have guys that are good finishers, right? Like Connor's a really good finisher, right? If he drops you, he's not gonna bum rush in, and get caught with spinning stuff. It's the same thing with Gaethje. Like Gaethje, especially recently, right? Gaethje hits you like he hits, man, and he has that ability to cover and not kind of get in these weird scrambles when he's trying to knock someone out. He controls the situation. So I think if Gaethje might put him away early, or if it just keeps drawn out, then that's when it gets interesting. Whose cardio holds up, because they're both known for their pace.
Oh yeah, well Tony's already got that cardio foundation.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like just based off that fight with Cowboy, you could tell, Tony's listening to the criticism and he's really working on his stand-up game.
Yeah,
and plus, he's so fast. I don't think he's gonna have trouble staying on the outside of Gaethje.
No, not at all. But then again, Tony's the type of guy that likes to. He'll
in.
Fight with you.
The type of guy.
With you,
the type of guy.
So it's a great way to start bringing the UFC back.
And it says something about those two, because they're like, we don't care what's going on. We're just gonna fight someone. I honestly thought that, because I just had this vision in my mind when I saw all this stuff coming up. I'm not gonna say it for algorithm purposes, but just that they were gonna have an empty stadium, and Ferguson versus Khabib was gonna be a very silent fight.
Yeah.
I know you gotta have the crowds in there, but I feel like a silent fight Where like it's like, no, this has
That'd
to
be even
happen.
better.
That's even better.
Yeah.
You could hear what they're saying
You
to
hear
each
Khabib
other.
talking, you hear Tony telling him, dude, tech fall on the mat right now, you know, just craziness. Like, I mean,
they want to fight, I think.
But here's the thing: if Gaethje wins, that just ruins Tony and Khabib, man.
Does.
Like, you'll never see Tony and Khabib. I don't think you'll see it now, but if Gaethje wins, you're never gonna see it, man.
I know,
You know
and it's gonna be a really hard pill to swallow. I'm gonna like take that poster and put it in a coffin and like have
you might see them in Bellator like 10 years down the road fight. I wouldn't be surprised if they fight. You know what I'm saying? 10 years down the road, but man,
unless like, because I honestly feel Khabib's like really serious when he says he just wants to do a couple more fights and then come out of the game. Because if you have like a record of like, let's say he just runs through everybody, he faces Conor again, which I honestly don't see Conor winning the rematch or anything. I literally see him going like something like 35-0, and then like literally like that's a legacy of itself. Because if GSP cuts down to 155, which based on their walk around weight, they could really just they could really just meet up at lightweight. That's a good legacy fight. Because if GSP has 3 different weight class, you know, championships, or if Khabib beats, that's such a legacy fight right there. And I honestly see, like, if it was prime George versus like nowadays Khabib, I see George winning that. But like, since he's so much older, and like this is the years he's at where like father time really just takes a beating on you, and he's still training every day, I just see it being a landslide for Khabib.
You never know, man. That's what I thought when GSP came back to fight Bisping. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought
Bisping's a little older too.
He is,
right?
though, but he was still on top of his game, man. Like, he went to a war with Dan Henderson, you know, and he knocked out Luke Rockhold before that, and you know, he was on his own run. But like, I thought GSP was I thought he was a little in over his head, right? Like, even though like ring rust too, like you put ring rust in if he hasn't been back in 4 years, but I can see GSP, like, it's all about the mind, man. Yeah. GSP is one of the smartest athletes.
Plus, he was fighting a guy who was like just naturally bigger than him.
That's true,
too.
yeah.
And for him to just knock him down like that in round 3 and then just keep going, and it just shows like how like size just doesn't always matter. And like, if like someone's tough enough at like such a smaller like size, it's just going to be a landslide.
It's efficiency too.
Yeah. Plus, like, if you watch those first 2 rounds, you'll see every strike he had was just completely crisp. Like, he was waiting, he was timing everything, he was watching those videos. But I mean, I think I'm just like going a little too far into the future. It's like, we got to focus on the now, though.
It is hard to put money against Khabib, though, man. Like, you look at what he's done.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, as much as I love Tony, it's like I still see Khabib winning that fight. I mean, I hope that I'm wrong in that one, because if like your favorite fighter is the one to finally do it, like that's such like that's such a vicarious good feeling. But I mean, you just got to give Khabib that kind of credit.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree. And who knows, man? Tony, that whole lightweight division, the top 5 guys, man, they're all gonna come to fight. You know what I'm saying? Tony will get taken down. If he ever fought Khabib, he will get taken down. But is he gonna talk crap and start elbowing him and cut him up as he's on the bottom and then throw some triangles, or is it you know those guys are gonna do that kind of stuff? And so it's hard. It really is a toss up, right? I mean, Dustin Poirier almost caught. He had Khabib in that guillotine. And I don't care. I don't care what Javier Mendez was saying. Like, oh, he gets in the guillotine all the time. It's not tight. If you're saying he gets in the guillotine all the time, if I'm Tony Ferguson, I'm like, good. Because I get everyone else in guillotines too. You know what I'm saying? Like, then Dustin Poirier is nowhere near the black belt jiu-jitsu as
Tony,
man. I mean, so if Dustin can
Khabib's though, like, I think he's still a white belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
What they say about wrestling and jiu-jitsu, like
Sambo too.
Yeah, and typically, like, when you see that whole wrestling rule, it's typically against like white and blue belts, and then when you reach the purple belts and the brown and the black, that's when you see like it's going to be a toss-up.
Yep.
But when you see like a white belt like Khabib, who probably doesn't practice too much jiu-jitsu in the time, but Poirier is a black belt, and I saw that was tight.
Yeah,
but he's just you could tell how strong that guy's neck is, and just how he's like kind of like he does that. And ever since like I saw that fight, like whenever like I'm rolling or something and someone catches me in that guillotine, I'll just start pushing the elbow, and it really is like just a life hack that happens.
It's a game of inches. Like when I was at the lab, for a long time, and I was with Benson Henderson and stuff. Benson Henderson was known for just getting out of submissions. You'd let me get a rear naked choke on him, and then he's like, okay, let's go. Let me get the armbar on him. Full extension. He's like, okay, now we're rolling. And I would ask him, like, how do you get out of this stuff, man? Even his first fight with Cowboy got him in triangles, guillotine, everything. get out. He's like, it's just a game of like inch centimeters. He's like, you just got to find that little space right there, your own little pocket of air, and then kind of endure that. You know what I'm saying? And so like you watch a lot of that's why they called him smooth. Like he was able to calm the situation down whenever he was in a bad situation and get out of it. And so I do the same thing. Like when I roll in jiu-jitsu and stuff, I let people take my back. I'll put myself in bad situations, and then it's like being Houdini, right? You chain yourself up, and then you see if you see what kind of tricks you have to get out. So I think that's the best way to train jiu-jitsu, you know?
Oh yeah, but you just like get yourself into that situation, exactly, so you know how to.
Like if you see me rolling like Paris's class and stuff, like in gi jiu-jitsu, I'll let people just throw me over and take my back, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna work everything back defense. You know what I'm saying? I'll let someone mount me, and I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna work everything.
You're gonna hit bump them so they go over, and then you're just
figuring out my stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And with like Benson though, like, do you think it's like fair to say that he's like just like an underappreciated champion?
Easily, man. Easily. It's technically, I mean, if you watch MMA on Point, I mean, he's one of the most. He still holds the record for most lightweight title defenses.
Oh, really?
You know what I'm saying? Since BJ Penn.
Oh yeah.
There's 3 title defenses at lightweight, and then when he beat when Benson became the champion, no one else has defended their title more than once or twice, because then it was Pettis. Pettis lost to Dos Anjos lost to Eddie lost to Conor, and then Conor and Khabib. Now we're at Khabib. If Khabib fought and he beat Tony, then he would
or Gaethje.
Yeah, or Gaethje.
Because I'm nervous. I'm a little nervous for Tony. I will say
yeah, that's true.
Like, but it's like I think if he beats the winner of that fight, because I'm gonna say it's the winner of that fight, and then he beats Conor again, he's gonna bust the record for most lightweight defenses. And I honestly think after whoever he fights, whether it's Tony or Gaethje, that Conor rematch does have to happen.
Oh yeah, especially if Conor's gunning for it too, right?
Yeah, and Conor's back in his mindset, his old mindset of like, let's go get it.
Yep.
And I think like all that trouble that he got into was really the snap, wake up, man. You gotta stop this. Because I have to say, like, I think he's been redeeming himself, especially with like what's been going on, like calling for lockdown, making sure we, take care of this.
Being a people's champ again.
Yeah, he's being who he used to be. Because when I look back and I see that guy from Ireland who is crying because he didn't get to put the terminally ill fans' belts, I'm probably mincing my words a little bit but he showed that he genuinely had an interest in his fans and everything, and you could see how it was just that's what it should have been. And then when I saw him punch that old man in the bar, I was just like,
man, dude.
It was just a punch to my emotions, and I'm just like, I can't follow this guy. But now that he's this is a redemption story that he's going through.
I think it's everyone goes through those times in their life, and I think it's having the right people around you, right?
Yeah,
like his wife, his coach, his mentor, his best friend. You know what I'm saying?
And like Paris always teaches us forgiveness, man. It's a big deal.
And it goes like that's a true coach, right? Is like not only having someone just come to the gym and you tell them this and that, but someone like Paris who puts out those kind of life lessons or little keys to life lessons on Instagram and stuff like that. That's a true coach. You know what I'm saying? That goes and that's what I think Conor had that moment where either it's his coach or his wife or somebody on his team like had that talk, or they had an intervention or something. They had to talk with him. We're like, you gotta stop punching old people in the face. Dude.
I honestly think he had an intervention with himself, because when I watched that Ariel interview, when he comes on, like, I don't know if you ever watched a channel on YouTube, Mixed Molly Whopper.
Yeah.
He put it in a perfect space. Like, it looked like Conor was in physical pain of shame. And it's just, that's interesting when you have that strong of emotion that's like physically affecting you. You could tell he's just, he knows what he did. And I think the fact that he's acknowledging it this fast and just waking himself up, it kind of shows that, he does have a conscience.
Yeah, it's good to see, man. And he's good for the sport. He's the highest paid UFC athlete. He's the most recognized. Who doesn't know who Conor McGregor is now? You know what I'm saying? So
did that Floyd Mayweather fight.
So
the only thing I would say about Conor though is let's say he wins that rematch, and I'm totally wrong. I honestly just want to see him finally defend that belt. That's like one of the big criticisms is he's never defended that belt, but I honestly think he could do it.
Depends on how he beats Khabib too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? If he fights Khabib.
Yeah, because if he fights Khabib and he beats him, like what if he gives Tony a shot?
Yeah.
I really want to see Conor versus Tony. That was like the original one that was supposed to happen. I'm just curious, is Conor gonna? It's like the same thing with Gaethje. Is he gonna put him away early, or is it gonna go in the later rounds and Conor gets finished in 4 or 5?
It definitely sucks to be Conor, because you still have that that target on your back no matter what.
Everyone wants to fight.
Tony's still calling McNuggets. Khabib's still calling him chicken. You know, Gaethje's still saying let's go. So I mean,
everyone wants red panty night.
Yeah, everyone wants red. Dude, there's no fight that Conor has next is gonna be easy. I know that's another criticism. Like, oh, why are you fighting Cowboy? You know, it's like, you know,
it was a dip your toe in the water type fight. Like, I want to make sure I get a win first.
Cowboy was still top 5 at lightweight. Remember that. He just lost to the 2 best guys. You lost to Justin Gaethje and lost to Tony Ferguson. You know what I'm saying? These aren't scrubs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but like I said, like any fight from now for Conor is like the worst fight ever.
I do want to see him versus Jorge Masvidal at 170.
That'd be crazy.
That is going to be a crazy fight. I love Jorge, what he's done, and I think that because Jorge's become a hype train of himself, like that clash of hype trains is just going to be an insane fight. That's like a money fight right there. We got 5 more minutes. Yep. But, like, yeah, no, I'm just so excited for this whole card to come back and, like, us finally having a sport. And I like what Dana's doing because I know Dana has his criticisms on how, like, he'll say one thing and then he'll completely backpedal. And then when I'm, like, watching interviews, I'm like, but you just said, and it's kind of like one of those things. But I, like, admire the fact that he's trying to be the first sport out there. And it might be good to get some new fans in. Right? We need new fans.
I say that on Twitter all the time. Everyone's like, man, I miss when the Kevin Lee fight happened with Charles Oliveira. Everyone's like, man, I miss baseball. I miss that. And I always tweeted out, I'm like, if you guys, new sports fan, want to watch, there's UFC on ESPN. And that was this time, man. That was a good fight too.
What do you think of Kevin Lee, though, right now? Because he's like saying
it's mental, man.
It's mental.
It's all mental, man. Kevin, I was just talking to my boy JT about this yesterday. I was like, dude, I like Kevin Lee. I like his style. I like the way he fights and stuff. But man, it's like it's another one. Is like it's just right there. Like he almost. I mean, when he fought Tony, like that was a good fight, right? He rocked him, got on top of mounted him, started laying down bombs. The bell rings, and he's gassed out. Same thing with Rafael dos Anjos. Same thing with Charles Oliveira. It's like
you could see he had those moments. It's just he got finished, and it's like I think this is the problem is like a lot of people like to just say this guy lost, so they're not going to give him any credit for what he did in there. I think it's like kind of like Ben Askren when he fought Damian Maia. It's like, yeah, he lost that fight in the end, but those grappling exchanges
you get respect for Ben Askren in that fight, man.
Oh, yeah, no, and you could tell he wasn't going to just shoot for the takedown right away because Jorge Masvidal taught him that lesson. Because I think, you know, like even though his striking was kind of like you could tell he was still just in that development stage. And at his age, that's such a bad thing to be in because he just relied so much on that wrestling. And in the UFC, it's like wrestling is going to get you super far, but like there's ways against it. There's ways around it. And I think that's what Jorge like really wanted to expose. So he took his time before he actually went for any sort of takedown or it went to the ground. And
he used I use his takedown in practice all the time. He snatches up that single, and instead of running the pipe, he'll grab the head and start turning the head. And because Damian Maia is no slouch on the wrestling as well, right? So that's a pretty sneaky takedown to do as well, especially when you're Dominic does that a lot. He'll do that new pick, but you shoot that arm all the way up, and then you start running the pipe, and you throw that head over. Like that's a pretty good one, man.
When we go train in your garage, you can show me. Yeah, I'll be your grappling dummy. I want to know what that feels like.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Absolutely. But we're actually going to take a quick break. Be back with part 2. See you soon. So we talked a lot about like just real life UFC. I do have a question. What do you do like during this time when we're like just stuck at home and there's like nothing else to do when you're not training? What are you doing? Like gaming?
When I'm not training, man, I'm gaming all the time. If I don't even sleep. Like if I'm in the garage, I spend 2 hours in the garage and I take a 5-minute shower and I hop right on. I'm in my towel still. I'm hopping right on the Xbox and I'm playing UFC 3, man. And it's fun. It's addicting.
That's a heck of an online community too.
Oh man,
I've never seen so many like people take digital fighting seriously. You know, it's kind of like I mean, I like a serious game as much as the next guy, but some people like take that game and they go ham sandwich on it.
I get messages all the time. Like if I beat somebody or like I frustrate somebody, it pops up on my screen. So and so sent you a message, and it's just
a taunt.
It's just somebody talking crap, or it's either 14-year-olds that are getting mad at me, or like 30-something or 40-something-year-old guys that are like getting mad at me for something. I'm like, man, dude, this is fun.
It's quite the demographic from the age range of 14 to 40.
Yeah,
or something.
right.
It's like My Little Pony or something.
Well, everybody here is
It's true. You remember that from like high school?
Oh yeah, I had one of my best friends was a brony.
Oh
Dude,
man, that's
one of my best friends I wrestled with. He had a My Little Pony shirt, man, and I was like, they're like, isn't that your boy, man? I was like, oh,
so did he like summon the spirit of like Fluttershy or something
dude,
like that when he wrestled?
He had the necklace. He had the. I was like, oh man, dude. But yeah, it's since everyone's in quarantine, right? Everyone's playing. Everyone's all of a sudden getting good at UFC 3, and so I'm just like, man, dude, like, I'm up at 2 a.m, and I'm screaming at the TV.
Do you like switch up your characters in weight class, or is there like a favorite fighter?
I switch up my characters a lot because I like to see what the UFC gave stats to, and like I was saying on the break, like some of these guys, they did some guys dirty, man, like with stats and stuff. Like I said, Gilbert Burns, who's a jiu-jitsu world champion, has like the same level jiu-jitsu as Conor McGregor, and I'm like, that's nowhere near like the.
I mean, Conor McGregor could have better grappling, I feel, because he's a brown belt in Brazilian
He's
jiu-jitsu.
a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's not a multiple-time world champion jiu-jitsu guy like Gilbert Burns gets you on the ground. Like that's a wrap, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's I'm one of those guys where I'm like, man, this guy doesn't even fight like that guy in the game. And
do you play like as Henry a lot in flyweight division, and then just like think, wow, like this guy's in a video game, and I know this guy in real life, and all that stuff?
You know, I've gone like I've had teammates in the past like Benson Henderson and Efrain Escudero in games. Henry's in the game. They did Henry dirty too, man. They made him so small. They made the body models are like. They're like 15-year-old kids.
He's packing on some muscle too.
Henry's a big. He's got a big frame on him. But everyone, if you go on flyweight, everyone uses Henry. Like nobody uses anybody else.
And that says something about the guy's showmanship on how much attention he's brought to flyweight and stuff. It's so sad that he left.
Oh yeah.
I like to. You know what I like to play as is CM Punk. Welterweight, because it's such it's a challenge too, because not only that, but people don't take it seriously, and when people aren't taking you that seriously, that's when you're doing the thing. And then like
I had the same thing happen. Someone knocked me out as Dana White.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, actually, Dana White's better than CM Punk. I'd say. Oh yeah.
I bet Dana White has better skills than CM Punk in real life, though.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, Dana White was like
boxing, right?
Yeah, he was a boxer, and he wanted to like do it pro. And
he was fighting. He wanted to fight Tito. Remember that?
Oh really?
You guys know when back in 05 or whatever, and Tito and Dana like got into it because the whole Chuck Liddell thing, because he was managing both fighters, and Dana obviously was putting Chuck Liddell on the pedestal, and then they had the rivalry, and then Tito would come in with shirts on the way and it's like, Dana White's my, you know what I'm saying? And there's like if you look on YouTube, there's like a legit 24/7 on them training to fight each other. Like
we gotta make that happen in Bellator or something like that. Like just see. I wonder what I honestly want to see, like how Dana White throws and stuff like that. Like,
I mean, he's
an intimidating dude.
He's better than CM Punk, I'll tell you
that. Yeah. But besides like UFC, like what other games are you like interested in?
Halo Wars 2,
Halo
man.
Wars 2?
I get mad on that too because everyone online. It's just something to keep my like. I noticed like early on, especially even before like everything closed down, I couldn't shut my mind off from either being an athlete or a coach, like helping my boys out with coaching and stuff. And I'd go from the gym or the garage, and I'd go home and I'd pop UFC on, and I'm got my notebook on, and I'm writing notes down, and like it was just nonstop, like really. And it sounds good, like to obsess over it, but then there's moments where I'm like, man, I really need to just like I'm getting burnt out on seeing all the same stuff. So
take a step back.
Yeah,
don't drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. Like it got to that point where I'm like, man, I see TJ or Dominic, studying Dominic Cruz for Henry's camp. I'm like, man, dude, I seen the switch cross darts and all this. It's driving me crazy, bro. I can't do it, man. Anymore.
So you gotta like pop in Assassin's Creed or something like that.
I haven't played Assassin's Creed recently. I am excited about the new Valhalla, but
man, I saw it. Did you see that meme online where it says Assassin's Creed? And I've shared this on Facebook. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it shows SpongeBob in his Leif Erikson costume, and then all the
Happy Leif Erikson Day.
Yeah,
that's funny. No, but I've been playing a lot of I've just been messing around, man. Just like I said, I get competitive on UFC. If I just want to mess around, I get on Halo Wars 2, or Rose and I will play Halo, firefight on Halo or something. You know what I'm saying? Just last time. I really don't have
collection or Halo 5.
Master Chief Collection. I don't mess with Halo 5, man.
Oh, you don't?
I'm a little disappointed in Halo 5. So.
They just the campaign or like
everything? Yeah, campaign.
Yeah, I know that's bad. Like when like you have a story that's so well set up. Because I remember like when I was like a senior in college and that was coming out. Oh no, junior year I remember, and I was like jonesing about that.
Everyone was
game.
hyped about it.
I remember putting it up for early download. So on that 9 p.m. mark, I was there playing it. I finished it by 11. I came in the next day to class with such a disappointed look on my face. I was like, they had such a good story lined up. And
That's like it'd be false marketing, man.
Yeah,
like, they spent one mission looking for Master Chief, and then now they're friends, and now they're
and their big battle was a fist fight when they're both wearing armor.
Yeah,
like what's
it wasn't cool. But I'm hoping the next one is a lot better, man. It seems like they're returning to form, but I haven't heard too much about it, man.
I actually kind of like worry about it in a sense, because
just gonna keep beating that dead horse.
Well, not just that, and I think sometimes it's time to like lay it to bed so you have like a quality legacy other than just trying to drag it out. And it's like, well, but what they did with that trailer is they had Master Chief and some guy that we've never seen before. There was no Locke, there was no Blue Team, there was no Fire Team Osiris. So if you like take all those like storyline, it's kind of like if you had like a UFC battle pretty much of like two fighters who like really had, and there's like all this drama involved, and you just like threw out all the things. You're kind of like ruining the marketing for the next game, kind of thing.
I think maybe they just want to do away with everything that happened with Halo 5. It's kind of like
but it's like you wrote yourself into
exactly.
This whole, you better write yourself.
Well, it's kind of like the X-Men series, right? In the movies where they did Days of Future Past, so everything that happened before that, like the original X-Men and all that, like just didn't exist anymore. So I think, or Star Wars, right? Like the last Star Wars was like kind of like patching up all the screw ups in the previous Star Wars, right?
You got to give J.J. Abrams credit though, because like when
I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it for. That was like an overall like movie arc, I guess you could say. But I think like I was coming in giving J.J. Abrams the benefit of the doubt in that one.
I definitely liked it better than the last one, man.
Oh man, Rian Johnson, that guy, he took a movie, took it in a whole different direction, and started trash talking on Twitter like crazy. And I was just, it's like, get this movie away from me, please. You ruined Luke Skywalker.
If Disney can do Marvel so good, the whole 10 years of cinematic universe, like majority of the time is good, right? You don't talk about Iron Man 2 or 3 or like the 5 Incredible Hulks that they made, but like the majority, the MCU is like amazing. Why couldn't they do that with Star Wars?
I know it's like, but they put it into different sectors and everything. And I think Kevin Feige, when he was in charge of that entire like thing, he saw all the mistakes that Star Wars made, and he's like, okay, let's not make that mistake, because they all thought that. Like, we thought Captain Marvel was going to be, like, the savior of everything. And I think it's kind of like,
dude. Oh
it was. I would have been like, it's just disrespect to, like Iron Man, because, like, they lost the fight, so they got to pick that up. But if you just have Captain Marvel replacing an entire, like, 11 years of work. I mean, I actually saw Captain Marvel, and I was impressed by that movie.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It had good direction, and I actually like the 90s soundtrack, especially that fight when they did that No Doubt song, which is like, I was like, okay, I'm having a good time. I went back to see it a second time, but I was just like, they got to keep this minimized, and they did a good job, because not only did they give her that like haircut that was in the comics, which I like. I actually think Brie Larson actually rocks short hair really good too. But like they said, there's millions of planets suffering from the same thing you are, so she's taking care of that. You guys got it. So it was like,
and then she pops up at the end.
Like, to save the day.
It's like, okay,
just destroys Thanos' ship.
Yeah. I've also been Rose has been getting me in a lot of anime too. You know what I'm saying? So we've been watching some anime on Netflix. A lot of crazy. It gets me hyped for trading. You know what I'm saying? Because if you watch all the fight scenes, and anime stuff, it just makes you
pumped.
It's all anime is. Like you watch an anime where it's like Dragon Ball Z or like all these guys that trade. It's all about training, and it's all about beating the next guy, right? And so that's oh man, I get hyped. Like I see a crazy fight scene, I'm like, all right, let's go.
What's your favorite? Like, cause like you watch a fictional character, and you're like, I'm gonna draw the spirit of that character when I go into the octagon next time. If you could choose like one anime character, which one would that be that you just draw the spirit out and go ham?
Oh man, well, I'll tell you what. When I was I used to get in fights a lot in elementary school, just for fun, right? And I never trained or anything, did sports. I was so in love with Dragon Ball Z. I would Super Saiyan up before I would fight.
Oh yeah,
I would
Vegeta or Goku.
Goku. I would get up and I would just be like, and then just run at kids, dude, and we would just brawl.
I noticed you get like blonde highlights in your hair every now and again.
I do.
Is that because of Goku inspired?
I think it's an Asian thing, man. I think
Asian thing?
I'm Filipino and Japanese. I think it's an inherent thing to just randomly just dye our hair some funky color because we can. I don't know, man, but I originally dyed my hair because we're in Arizona and there's a bunch of, let's be honest, there's a bunch of little brown people fighting on every card. So I wanted to be a little brown person that kind of stood out, right? Like I have blonde hair, I have white hair, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to have a spectacular showcase and be like, some brown guy, I don't remember his name, you know. So at least he has white. I have a couple of people that I'll see like that were on like certain cards and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you have blonde hair before." I'm like, "Yep, that's me." So yeah, that's the reason why.
It's actually pretty cool. I mean, I've noticed that like the like fight community here is like really heavy, like in like Filipino, Hispanic, mainly like Hawaiian and stuff like that. It's actually pretty cool. Like Arizona's become like basically a really diverse like fight community.
Yeah, it's really crazy how many Pacific Islanders are out here in Arizona.
Oh yeah,
I have a couple uncles out here. Rose and her family. There's a couple guys, Natividad brothers. They're from Hawaii. Like there's in a desert, you wouldn't expect so many people that lived on an island in the desert. You know what I'm saying? So my uncle Dale Soapy, he's a big heavyweight. He fought for PFL and stuff. So
you got like a lot of genes from like all over the world, just like
but I got all the small genes. I didn't get the big Samoan genes, man.
Oh,
I got
that's
the
like the thing.
All my cousins are like I have a picture of me and my cousins when we were all 15, and there's me still the same height that I am now, and then my cousins are like your height, like 6 foot plus, 250 pounds, and we're all the same age. You know what I'm saying? So I got all my mom's Filipino genes.
Oh yeah, and I feel that because I inherited my dad's Irish and English genes, but then like a lot of people say like you look really Italian, and I think that's like from
I think that too.
That's from my mom's side actually, because she like grew up in San Pedro where there's like a lot of like Italian people and stuff like that, just especially like a lot of shady stuff going on too. So I think that's why she moved out. Like also like that's like the main thing, but then when I look at my heritage, especially on my mom's side, it's like kind of same thing with you. I'm like just like a mutt. Like I like German, French, Spanish. I think I do have some Mexican, but not enough to where it like shows on the outside or anything like
not enough to be, you know,
to be like putting a Mexican flag with an American flag. Yeah, nah. I'm not a big fan of doing that, just because like even though like the Irish like is really heavy in me, it's like if like I were to like be like a pro wrestler or something like that, I wouldn't wear an Irish flag. I think I'd still be obligated to do that American flag, because I think unless like, because when you watch like a fighter like George St. Pierre or something like that, who really just like rocks that Canadian flag or something, like even if I was like part Canadian, I don't know if I'd be comfortable wearing that flag, because it's just not my thing. I just think like stealing, you know, that kind of culture or something like that, like not like appropriation as they call it nowadays, but like just like kind of like just being real and being authentic. Like this is where I came from. I'm not trying to, you know.
My JT always gets mad because I like Kamaru Usman, and he's like, Kamaru Usman's not even really African. He's from Nebraska, dude. He hates that he wears the green colors.
Jorge did that. He made that video, right? The multiple personalities of Kamaru Usman. You see that?
Yeah, I saw
where it shows like Marty Usman representing America, and then it's just like, dude, are you really from Nigeria? Yeah. Like, I'm like confused.
I'm saying if it's Israel and Ngannou, you know, rep you and stuff, I'll take him as Nigerian, man.
Oh yeah, because wait, is what's his name? Ngannou, who's actually also fighting. I'm looking forward to seeing his return.
He's fighting that other. He's fighting the I forgot. I can't pronounce his name, but he's also from Africa. They both freaking.
So it's gonna be like a whole. Yeah, it's gonna be an African battle.
It's gonna be the Black Panther. Like who's the real Black Panther?
Because I always like thought that like I just sensed some French in Ngannou too when he.
Well, he was from France.
Oh really? Yeah. So yeah, no, but his like bloodline's
he went from Africa, and then they discussed. He was boxing in France. And his boxing coach was like, "You should probably do MMA too. Like you hit hard.
You'll knock some people
you'll knock some dudes out in MMA." So yeah, he does.
And he got that title shot, so his coach is right. You know?
Yeah.
I think he should go back for a rematch. I think now that he's actually felt what Stipe's all about.
I don't think Stipe's about it though, man.
You really don't think so?
No, I mean, you see his quotes. He's like, "Oh, it's about, you know, he's more concerned about coronavirus and all this, like, which is understandable." But I don't think.
like after
he's
Corona.
at the end of his career. You know what I'm saying? Like you can tell.
Like
right?
he could do that trilogy
him
fight.
him and DC are. I think if they do a trilogy fight, they're done. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, like they should just be that last one.
Yeah.
Because I honestly feel like even though Cormier lost the rematch, which I was surprised by, like I think that was a great comeback, but I feel like that was like his big redemption was snatching that heavyweight title. And I mean, I think defending it against Derek Lewis, who's kind of like a one-dimensional, was kind of questionable. So you really want to see him defend it against Stipe, and it like kind of sucks.
He was beating Stipe up, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I was there live too. I was there live watching it, and I remember going in round 4. I was like, whoever starts because they're just both headhunting. There's rock'em sock'em robots. It's like whoever starts changing these levels on the shots is like they'll start shining through. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, my Stipe, and then you see Cormier start jiggling his belly, and you're like, boom, boom again. I'm like, oh man,
that's his weakness. That I think him and John Jones, they both got that. Honestly, I honestly want to see who John Jones is gonna fight next too. Like.
The police.
that whole story I
watched that video. I watched the whole video of his arrest, and it's just sad, man.
You got to send me that link. I missed that. It's
just sad. Like you could just tell. Like cop rolls up. He's like, "What are you doing?" And John's like, "Oh, I'm just going on a drive, man." Blah blah blah. You're just like, this is just
you're drunk,
sad,
man,
dude. Like you're. Did you hear a gunshot? Did I hear a gunshot? Oh yeah, I heard a gunshot. You're like, oh, dude, this is. I mean, they gave him the test and he couldn't walk straight. He's like, okay, let me restart. And it's just like, dude, you asked my dad, dude, like when John Jones first came on the scene, I thought he was freaking Superman, dude. Like my dad would make jokes. He's like, oh, did you hear about John Jones? He saved a cat out of a tree and saved people out of a burning fire, dude. Like my dad would always give me crap because I thought John Jones was like
Superman,
the best guy, dude. Like and he still is.
Yeah.
But I saw him when he fought that Brazilian guy, like for the very first time, his UFC debut. No, his UFC debut. And they were telling his stats, like he started MMA 6 months ago, and he had 3 fights, and then he was in the UFC.
He just had a natural.
And I was like, I listened to Joe Rogan say that. I was like, did he really just say he just did MMA 6 months ago? And he's in the UFC, you know?
Yeah, and then you just see his career branch from that. I mean,
it's just sad.
Because there's one thing though that Jared told me when I had him on the cast, like. Just a couple weeks ago, that like no one's really perfect, and I think we can give John Jones credit where it's due. This isn't the worst thing he's gotten in trouble for.
Well, yeah, no one is perfect, right? And especially if your life is under a spotlight all the time. Like think of how many insecurities or how different you might feel when you know like you feel awkward when you're taking a test and your teacher's over your shoulder, right? And you start acting different. You're like, you know. Or like you're in jiu-jitsu class and maybe coach is like looking at you specifically while you're trying to do the new move and you start stumbling upon yourself, right? Think about that in life. Yeah. Everyone's all up on you trying to figure out who you dating now or like where you living, you know, what your
people are kind of like, I mean, getting nosier because of like all this media and stuff
that's the most annoying thing.
Because I remember when I was young, I was like a super huge Tarantino fan after I watched From Dusk Till Dawn. And I shouldn't be admitting that I was able to watch that movie at such a young age, but like I was like, dude, Tarantino's the best. And then just as a kid, 10 years old, I'm watching Pulp Fiction and all these things. So yeah, no, I had a pretty interesting childhood when my parents weren't looking. But like I watched this video where he's outside getting a coffee and this paparazzi guy literally comes up and he's like, dude, like not now. And it's like, we all value our privacy as people. We all just want to, you know, have some times where it's like, okay, man, it's all good. And I'm usually an open book. Like if someone wants to talk about something, I usually talk about it. But when you have someone just like hammering you, and I saw him slap that cameraman, and it's just like, I'm just like, that's a little far, but at the same time, you're probably getting it every day. Yeah. You're probably, and the guy was being really rude too. So he's like, just saying like, dude, like I asked you twice already, just not cool.
It makes you kind of appreciate when fighters constantly do media and get the same. I think I said this last time when I was here. Like the one question I hate during when I'm fighting and during fight week is like, how's the weight? How you feel it? And you're like, you answer the same question over and over again, so you kind of appreciate like
I did that to Henry.
Yeah, well, like it's standard, right? Like how you feeling, you know, how's the weight, blah blah blah. But like you appreciate the fighters when they go out of their way, they're cutting weight. Like people like Tony Ferguson gives the best interviews, right? Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the rats and all that, right? But
did you see his one with Helen Yee when he's out of nowhere? He said something. I think it was like on the lines of. he was talking about rugby, and then he brought up haka, and then someone stepped on his friend, and then went back to what he was talking about. I'm just like thinking, wait, what? But I was like, that's actually good because it's natural, but it's so awkward that it just like.
But like I said, like you gain a new appreciation. Like these fighters go through a lot, like at the highest level. That's what I'm saying. Like when you're under the microscope, like you start acting a little bit different. Like I don't like it. Like I had to become pretty reserved in my own life, or like in training and stuff, because I don't like people asking. Like if people ask me like how I'm doing and stuff, I keep it short and simple, right? Like if you do want to talk to me, I'll be an open book. I'm pretty transparent, but like I just don't like when people try to know things, right? Like it's like
let's have some boundaries. Like you can know this, but you know it's just
or like if I say something, then it's just gonna come back around and like someone's gonna use it against me. So I understand. No, like it gets annoying when people try to egg you on about stuff. So
yeah, but like back with the whole press thing, when you're a fighter, that's a big responsibility, because you're always gonna have something, like, because especially like in Hollywood or something, which I think Dominic Cruz like has like a house out there in that area too. Like he could probably be on his balcony and someone's like taking pictures of him hitting pads with Jeremy Stevens or something, or if not something worse, where he's like like, not to put any bad images, but just getting out of the shower or something like that, and someone's taking, because they really do that, and it's just like you gotta like make sure, especially when you're on that level, like of like fame, you gotta like make sure your doors are closed, your windows, and it's just because people are just,
it's not a good way of living. No. Or like you have to watch everything you say, because if you're joking around with somebody and you say, like
also
like
Dominic Cruz, that bath thing was a joke. I don't know how much this is gonna be.
But you say the wrong thing and someone takes it out of context and they're like, oh, Zach said, he doesn't like Mexican food, so he doesn't like, you know what I'm saying? Just like,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I love carne asada. I mean, that's like, I've been actually having a lot of Filibertos too. That's
man, don't tell me about that. I had to hold myself back, eating Filibertos, but, or Mexican food in general. But, yeah, it's hard, man. Because then if you start becoming more reserved or cautious, you come off as, an a-hole or something, right? Like you come off as somebody that nobody wants to talk to, but that's not it. It's just, you're just being cautious.
Well, I mean, and it's especially as you get older, because you get more experience with people, because you are going to bump into, and this was the thing, because I used to be really huge into cosplay, and I still try and do it because I have friends there who I still like to hang out with and stuff. But I used to be the thing where you would share things with these people, and then it would come back to bite you later. So then you're kind of it's kind of like John Kavanaugh's thing. You either win or you learn. Yeah. So if you take this loss, you're like, okay, I'm going to make sure I am careful about what I share. And with cosplay specifically in that community, they really like to know how you made it and everything that. And I don't mind sharing that. I could share cosplay secrets, but when it just gets to a personal level, it's when you back off, and it's that I do that kind of a lot, but it's it's so hard not to come off, and you always got to say this, and just even if you're a fighter or just a construction worker or something, no matter what your thing is, it's you could always say not to sound kind of but I'm just more reserved, and I think people don't get that.
Yeah, no, and especially I'm from New Jersey, so it's a little bit more of a different culture on the East Coast. If you're with coworkers or even people you train with, you don't really talk about right off the bat, if we're not close, I'm not gonna ask you about your parents, or just start digging for information. Where I'm from, that's a little,
you're not gonna go, hi, I'm Zach, here's my address.
There's different intentions when people are doing that, right? So I get a little off put. So if anybody thinks I'm kind of a dick, it's not because I'm just being reserved. You're
just going your own way at this point.
Yeah, and like I said, if we want to talk, we sit down and talk. But it's when people are they use that against you, right? You talk about your kids or this and that, and then somehow it gets back around to you and bites you in the ass. It's just
gossip among adults.
Oh, I hate it.
It's bad. How much time we got left? We got about 5 more minutes. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, or you want to get to training, man?
No, I mean, we can talk about whatever. I just yeah, no, it's a good conversation.
Yeah,
we're kind of all over the place.
It's fun because that's the thing I like about doing these, because we're talking about video games once, and then I think we kind of forget the mics and the cameras are here, and then it's just real, talk. It's real and stuff like that. But I'm all out of stuff that we could talk about. Let's go train, man. I want you to show me that takedown. Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
All right. All right, so here we are at Aiden's dojo, self-made. It is beautiful. Yep. So we're gonna go over in part 1. We talked about a takedown. I just want to know what he meant by that, and then we're gonna do some lifting weights, learn some key principles of that, so you can get your strength maxed out. And let's go.
All right, cool. Let's do it. It's actually a nifty little takedown that I do. Angel Cejudo kind of showed it after the fight as well. It's a nice little hack as opposed to running the single leg like a traditional wrestler, right? So I'm gonna grab the single, usually however you set it up from strike. I grab the single, right? And usually, traditionally, you wanna run the pipe, which is you're stepping back and you're driving down, right? That's running the pipe right there. If you have someone that has really good hips like Damian Maia or somebody that's really tight onto you defensively like a wrestler should, or a jiu-jitsu guy, the best thing for you to do is to drive the knee up onto your chest, right? So now you're creating space instead of this tension where he can grab my neck and it's hard. Drive up right here, and then I'm going to do the same motion as running the pipe, except I'm going to come onto the head right here. Boom. All right. So I'm clotheslining the head instead of locking down on the leg right there. Want to try it out?
Sure.
So now you're just going to take this. You're going to take my leg.
Okay.
Yep. And you're going to drive it up. Yep.
Yeah.
Right up to my knee. There you go.
What's your knee?
And you're going to switch your stance. There you go. And then you're just going to take your hand and then circle me this way. And circle. Other way.
Other way?
Yep. Circle me down to my butt. Yes. Now all you're doing is sitting me down on my butt. All right. It's a really cheeky move. It's really sneaky, especially if someone is hipping down a lot. Again, I'm going to try it out. Ben Askren really doesn't have the best wrestling. The best striking. So he just kind of grabs that snatch single. Boom. Snatches it up. He brings it up. He can hand fight right here. He can threaten with the neck on a guillotine. He snatches it up. Kind of creates a little bit more opportunity to mess around up here. Boom. Then we proceed to fight.
All right.
Want to try it out one more time, Zach?
Sure.
All right.
So
got the single.
switch my stance.
Yep. Step
Up.
in. Yep.
With this one.
Yep.
And then this arm, right?
Yep. Switch your stance. Make sure this is all the way up. So lock your grip right here. Yep. Lock your hands right here. Yep. And so as soon as this is in the chest, now you just sit me down on my butt, clothesline my face, and I'll sit straight. Other way.
This one?
Yep. Yes.
All right.
Now I'm in a bad spot.
It's really efficient. You're not really
using a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did something similar in jiu-jitsu where Paris had us go in, and then we're using our hips and our shoulders to just drive them down to the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's really cheeky because instead of fighting the hips, they're worried about getting that leg out, and then you just kind of turn on the head. It's super easy.
All right. Want to do one more time?
Yep.
All right.
Here I'm moving around. If I want to do the snatch single, boom, bring it up to my chest, right here, and then all my clotheslining as I'm circling. Same motion as running the pipe. Up.
All right. Now let's go over some weightlifting, man.
All right.
Nice takedown.
Yep.
Wrestling.
So if we were to, the basic principle that he always tells me is, if you can do 5, always leave 2 in the tank, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about pure strength and powerlifting, so if we were to just take the bar right here, and we were to do a basic deadlift on the bar, I need to measure out my own ability to see if I can do 7. I want to be able to leave those last 2 at all, right? So always 5 sets of 5, or 4 sets of 5. If I'm at a weight where I'm pushing, I'm struggling on that last rep, I'm gonna do sumo deadlifts right here, and I'm struggling on that last one, I probably need to go down, right? So basic principle of strength is leave 2 in the tank. Reps of 5. If it's too heavy, where you're barely getting 5 every single rep, it's not wrong to kind of humble yourself and say, yeah, I need to go down another couple pounds. The biggest thing is consistently repping out that weight until you do it perfect, right? If you do 5 sets of 5 of like 200 pounds and you're doing it perfect, okay, now it's time to move weight. If you're doing 5 sets of 5 and maybe your 5th set, you're struggling, you're like, maybe you stay at that weight, right? So strength is all about consistency, and it's not about really trying to push yourself and see your max rep every single time. So shout out to Nate Thompson, my old strength conditioning coach, current roommate. always leave 2 in the tank. All right, no matter what. I know everybody wants to push it, everyone wants to bench press the heaviest, but if you consistently, comfortably push a weight at that middle ground, it's just like what Frost the Hobby talks about on Joe Rogan's podcast. There's kind of like that flow. If you go too hard, you're going to exhaust yourself. If you go too low, you're going to get bored and not want to go. Again, you got to find that middle ground where you can push it.
It's kind of like how Jorge Masvidal, he said like he thinks longevity in the sport because he didn't try and focus on I'm going to deadlift 300 pounds or something like that. I think it's something that you got to be patient with. It's not going to get that strength overnight. And
especially when we're in this sport where you're doing everything, right? If I go on chest day, Monday's my push or chest day, and I try to max out or try to rip my muscles up as fast as possible, how am I going to do jiu-jitsu? How am I going to do striking 3-4 hours later when I'm all sore?
I remember you were actually talking about a thing with TJ Dillashaw where you had a teammate. You want to share that story too?
You want to remind me what?
When he said you're training yourself to...
Oh, yeah. So,
sorry, I have a lightning.
No, there's a teammate who's really working on powerlifting. But it was like every day was power, every day was power cleans, every day was heavy deadlifts. But he was pushing himself, right? He was doing like 3 to 4 reps at the end of it and really, hitting that PR. And in sparring, he's fatigued, he's slow, TJ was getting mad at him because he's like, you're not training yourself to be stronger, you're just training yourself to be slow at this point. And that strength conditioning program they have over there in California, you'll work out and you might not feel it. You're like, wow, like this, like I'm not getting the burn that I'm getting, but it's really just consistency and strength. We've been working with Rose on her bench and stuff, and she can hit 145 when she's struggling. Like we can really push it, but what's the point if we're hitting 145 twice a week, right? We're literally doing 2 reps a week. But if we're doing 135, 50 reps a week, really just repping it out, that's more consistent. Then the next week we go 135 plus 5 pounds, right? Like, so it's really about, taking care of your body and just consistent and being patient, like you said. Like, it's a lot of humility to say, oh, I can't deadlift 300 pounds yet. I'll just deadlift 250 or 275 for a while.
Yeah, because I was actually watching a jiu-jitsu video. You ever, shout out to Jiu-Jitsu online. You ever watch that channel?
Oh, yeah, I love that guy.
He talks about how, you're watching these guys train every single day, and he's saying like those guys are at the top of the spectrum. So don't try and push yourself to do that because you're just going to exhaust yourself.
You have to build up to it. Now, that's strength training alone. Now, if we're strength training and you really just want to build up your strength, it's consistency and it's finding that steady weight and then gradually going up. If we're talking about, like I like to do a lot of endurance workouts, yeah, I'm pushing myself every day, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm putting 5-pound weights on the bar and I'm doing I'm trying to hit 100 curls and 100 this and 100 jump squats. Like that's a different mentality. That's a different thing we're doing, right? And I think people get mixed up. And since MMA is such a new sport, everyone's still trying to figure out what's the great formula for building strength and conditioning, right? I think if you're an MMA fighter, I think the best thing you can do as a program is like CrossFit workouts, man, right? Smart CrossFit. Don't be doing bad form or anything.
Don't be the CrossFit that they make fun of on.
Circuit training, like what you did at Ramon's house. Circuit training is really probably the best thing, right? Because you're not destroying your body. You're not throwing around 300 pounds, right? About the same. You're doing a lot more body weights, small weights. You're doing functional training, and you're doing it at a higher pace, right? I don't realistically, I don't need to be lifting anything more than like what my fighting weight is 135. If I can throw around 135, 155, like in a power clean, I'm good. I can do that to somebody in a fight. Now, how many times can I do that is the real question, right? How my muscle endurance. That's one thing that we focus on here is muscle endurance, right? I love, because you can be stronger than me and bigger than me, but if I continue to put the pressure on you, my muscle endurance through the roof, and your muscles are fatiguing, right? It's that Tyron Woodley effect. You got all those big muscles. You're strong for a round and a half. I'm gonna continue to put the beat down on you, man. So it's good to recognize what you're training for when you're doing weights, and then evening out your training from weights to martial arts training and stuff. That's the hardest thing, man. That's the hardest thing because you can do heavy legs on Tuesday and then you spar on Wednesday and you're dead, man. You know what I'm saying? So just being smart.
So being not overtraining, and what you said, what I want to do is, because I want to be your guinea pig once more about that weightlifting.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you pick an exercise.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it, and you're going to coach me on the weight I should be having, on the reps, and when I should stop and not push myself any further.
Okay, yeah.
All right, let's do it, man.
Let's do that. Cool. Let's do deadlifts, man, because you can't really go bad with deadlifts. And we're going to do what I call sumo deadlifts. All right. So we're going to go wide, and I'm going to go small grip, and I'm just going to pull it up, just like a sumo wrestler. You can get in that sumo stance. So what do you usually do? When's the last time you did deadlifts?
High school.
High school, okay.
Yeah.
So let's start out with something, Rose, if we can go straight always. I like to do sumo deadlifts just because it helps me keep my back straight where I'm just going straight up and down as opposed to normal deadlifts. And it kind of feels more applicable to wrestling and stuff because when you wrestle in freestyle, you're picking someone up and throwing them. So all we're doing is I'm going to go wide. You can keep your feet out if you want. And I'm just going straight right here. And all I'm doing is going up. All right? So let's try to hit that 5 times, and I want you to tell me how you feel.
All right.
If it's too light.
So my foot stance is good for this?
Yep, you can do foot stance. Your knees can kind of be bowed out, just like sumo wrestling. Up, all the way up.
1.
Yep.
2. 1. 2.
Go back straight.
3.
Yeah, it was pretty straight for the most part. Do you feel like you can do 2 more?
Probably.
Yeah, that's perfect then.
Perfect.
Right, but it doesn't feel too light, right? It didn't feel like you were throwing it up.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what you would do right now is that we'd stay this weight for like 4 reps, 4 sets. And then maybe your last set, if you really wanted to see how much, then we'd add like another 5 pounds on each side, just to push it just a little bit. And then we do the same thing next week, right? And another thing I wanted to say is that in between each rep or each set, you want a 2 to 3 minute break. This is true strength right here. Like I know a lot of people want to hit it and then shake it out and then go hit that set again. How are you going to give your body time to recover? 2 to 3 minutes. So you really want to build yourself up for performance instead of consistently breaking your body down. So now you would just kind of chill out, drink water, whatever, listen to music, text so-and-so, and then 2 minutes later, you do it again, do another 5, hit it hard, perfect.
All right, so has it been 2 minutes?
Yeah, I'd say.
All right.
Talking a lot. All right. Let's run your legs out just a little bit more. There you go. Pull it down. Yeah, here you go. Pull it.
Safety first.
Pull it down. Keep it down. Perfect. One more. Pull it up. Boom. That's it. And it seems a little redundant because you're not getting the videos, right? But that's true strength. Because again, if you do this, you're not going to feel too tired. You're not going to feel worn out. In like 3 or 4 hours, we can go do jiu-jitsu, right? And you wouldn't feel like you're dead inside. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So that's true strength right there. You know what I'm saying? And then every week you go up because you're here for if you want to stay consistent, right? You're no rush. We can go up 2 pounds every week, right? But if you're in a rush, then you're just gonna throw 20, 30, 45, pounds on it. You're trying to see if you can lift as heavy as you can that day. So I can't stress enough consistency and being patient.
It's actually pretty good because I'm working up a sweat. I can feel it right here too.
Yeah.
It's not too much. I feel like I could do 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
but it's
good.
not killing yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just keep doing it. You keep with that weight. And then when you get it to the point where you're like, all right, now this is too easy, then you go up another 3 to 4 or 5 pounds, right? Just like with anything, you have to start with a small plate, and when you put food on it and you got a little bit more food, you get a bigger plate. But you don't get a big plate that you can't eat all that food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You can put 300 pounds in there. Maybe you can get 300 pounds 1 time, 2 times. But what's that going to do?
Not much.
It's gonna rip your legs up, and then you're gonna go jiu-jitsu, and you can't even perform jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So you gotta keep that as a martial artist. You gotta keep that in mind as training for strength conditioning, and then going to do the same thing. How many fighters even now you'll talk to? They're like, man, I'm dead. My legs are dead. My arms all strength conditioning this morning was killing me, man. Then you're doing the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying?
Doing too much. So you gotta really take that. There's a fly in my eye. But you really got to take that when it comes to those like movies and stuff. When they say you got to push yourself, you really got to take that with a grain of salt.
Say when it comes to strength, when it comes to cardio, yeah, we can push. See how much. If we did this with if we do jump squats and we did 10 reps of jump squat, yeah, we want to see, you know, you push it, right? Like your anaerobic threshold and your lungs blow out and all that. That's good. But I don't want to see you do 300 pounds and, you know what I'm saying? What's the point? Really, what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
No point.
No point. Unless you are a power lifter going to the Olympics, yeah, throw around 300 pounds. See what your PR is every single time. Even then, it's just consistent, gradual strength. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're not doing that. We're not power lifters. I don't need to lift no 300 pounds. If I can do 200 pounds easy and consistent, and it gives me a little challenge, then I can throw around a 135 pound fighter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same thing for you. In jiu-jitsu, you don't need to be throwing up this crazy amount of weight. You probably can. What's that going to do for you?
Not much.
It's all about efficiency, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's for our sport specific, right? That's what people are finding out. That's what people like Faraz Sahabi are finding out. Like, you kill yourself in one area, you're going to take away. But if we can gradually even out all the areas, then you're growing. Consider you become like a GSP. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't kill yourself here or there. It's just gradual. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you for the lesson very much.
Thank you, brother. Good job.
All right. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hope you guys learned something. Now, when you guys get back into the gym, when it comes time, because I'm looking forward to when Fight Ready comes in, but I've been making a mistake lifting heavy weights before jiu-jitsu or striking, and it has taxed me massively. Now that I've heard from someone who has a lot more experience than me, I'm ready to do I'm actually getting excited to do a little bit less work.
Yeah.
As lazy as that sounds.
If I were you, I would do it after.
After.
If you have the time, do it after. That way, you get your cardio and your martial, you get your technique out of the way, and you can have a little bit of rest time, and then you can kill it on the weights. But that's you're killing yourself.
All right, don't kill yourself. That's a bad thing. All right.
Good job, brother.
Thanks for having me. Oh, this is an awkward handshake right here. So fist bump?
Yeah, fist.
No, bring it in. All right.
There you go. And keep push. Nice, 7. 3 more. What? Hey. I'll let you hit me. I'll let you go. Oh, hey, yes. And that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Good shit, man.
So put that on the signature. Yeah, it's no secret.